Hey guys, welcome back. Next episode of Sessions is on its way. However, Halloween season is upon us, and I just wanted to make a quick video to show you an easy way to make a really cool pumpkin. Anybody can do this. You don't need to be a sculptor, artist, whatever. Just a few common tools. Pick those up at stores while they still have those before Amazon takes over. Speaking of which, pick this pumpkin up at Whole Foods. It was about $6. You can find pumpkins like these at most grocery stores, big box stores. I chose a pumpkin like this because it's what most people have access to. I was lucky enough to find one that had most of the stem and a little bit of extra on it. I thought that might look cool. We'll see towards the end. So the idea is that I have this little, I drew this in Photoshop. This is just a quick little X-Acto knife. Quick little face, and the idea is that I'm going to cut everything out here. We're going to tape it onto the pumpkin, and I'll show you what to do from there. So let's get to it. Alright, so for tools, you're going to need some bamboo skewers, wire, tape, paring knife, hobby knife, marker, toothbrush, paddle bit, LED lights, cookie scoop, ice cream scoop, or pumpkin scoop, and a bread knife. Shout out to Pioneer Woman. Optional tools. These tools will make things easier but aren't totally necessary. Isopropyl alcohol, super glue, brass or aluminum rods, sculpting tools, a drill, and another pumpkin. Alright, so next we're going to take our printout and we're going to cut this out real quick. And you can take your time doing this, you can do it with scissors or whatever, but it doesn't have to be super accurate. We're just using it as a rough template. Take your tape, fold over itself, and stick it on there. And just put that on the pumpkin. You're going to do this for all the pieces. One thing to note is just to make sure that you have the pumpkin flat on a table and that you're not working on it like this while you're placing the pieces, because obviously it's going to be messed up, so you want the face to be straight on. Next, you're going to take your marker and just carefully draw along the stencil that you've just created. If you mess up, you can take the alcohol and a paper towel and just wipe it away and redraw. Next, you want to take your hobby knife and carefully cut along these lines. So I don't think I need to explain exactly how to carve a normal jack-o'-lantern like everybody's probably done at least once in their life. The idea is that you pick out a face and carve it any way you'd like to. Adding these eyes in will work with just about any jack-o'-lantern style pumpkin. Sometimes a toothbrush can be really useful for cleaning little bits out of the inside of the carving. Alright, now that we got the face cut out, if you want to get rid of the rest of this marker residue, if you have any left over, you could just use the alcohol to wipe that right off. Now's a good time to touch up any of these areas if you want to. I like to go in and make some V-cuts here. Alright, next thing you want to do is turn your pumpkin around. Yo, nobody cleaned this up? Alright, now you want to take your bread knife and cut a nice big square out of the back of the pumpkin. Try to take this off in one chunk because we're going to replace it afterwards. Now put this piece aside and clean out the rest of the pumpkin. For this you can use a pumpkin scoop, the ice cream scoop, or if you have a loop tool around you can use that too. Take your cookie scoop, and before you can use these, there's a piece that comes in the middle of these that you're going to have to remove. They usually just pop right out. Now you grab the piece that you cut from the back And what you want to do is find the thickest part of it. If you haven't done this before, you might want to practice on a spare pumpkin, or if you have that donor pumpkin, you could just use that, because it can be tough to get a good clean scoop. Now you want to grab your paddle bit, and what you would do is just line this up and try to do your best to try to find the center, and then just twist it slowly. It might tear up a little bit, but if you kind of keep going over it, it'll sort of flatten itself out. I'm actually going to use a drill for this because it does come out a little bit cleaner. Now there's a couple of ways to do this next step, but what you want to do is just cut the ends off of your bamboo skewers. And what we're going to do is create a little highlight inside of the eye, like a little catch light. So you can make this out of pumpkin. That's what, if you wanted to have brass or aluminum rods, which you could just pick up at the hardware store. Usually they're in sort of the specialty hardware section in a drawer or something. You can find these at hobby shops too. What you would do is just take a scrap piece of pumpkin and then drive the tube through. And then you take another tube of a smaller size, and that way you can you'll be able to ream that piece out like this. What you could do is just glue this right onto the pumpkin. We're gonna take the easy way today, and just make sure that they're long enough to go through the eye. Now when you're placing the highlights, you wanna make sure that the highlight is in the same spot on each eye. Usually I just put them both in the top left or top right corner. Watch your fingers in the back, and then you're just gonna pierce right through the iris. You want to sink the highlight down just a little bit below the surface of the eye. And it's important to have a little bit hanging out in the back here, because we're going to attach some wire to that, and that's how we're going to stick these right into the pumpkin so that they'll hold. You can also use super glue for this step as well. This is the trickiest part, but with a smaller pumpkin, you can usually see around the front while you're doing it. So just take your time in positioning these and make sure, they're looking, if you want to have the pumpkin looking right at you. Take the wire, poke it into the meat of the eye, and then wrap it around the skewer. You could use bamboo skewers or glue to just glue the eye in place, but usually the wire allows for a little more flexibility in positioning. I'm just going to cut one more little piece of wire to use as a staple. I chose to dig a little bit more off the top inside, and I stuck some bamboo skewers across on the inside of the pumpkin just to support the light, so the light's balancing on the top. But you could also dig out the bottom and just rest the light in there. These came in a set of 4, so you can use them to light the inside as well as the outside. And you can also change the colors on these, so just mess around with it until you find a combination that you like. On the outside, I've just angled 2 more lights toward the pumpkin. Now just replace the back piece, and the last step is to light it up. One more thing, if you want the pumpkin to last a little bit longer, you can just spray it down with some water. And if you want it to last a really long time, if you want to carve the pumpkin the night before a party or whatever, each night spray it down with some water and wrap it in some plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge. If you want to get into more advanced 3D carving, or if you want the pattern to this exact pumpkin, all the links are in the description. Happy carving, happy Halloween, and I'll see you in the next one.